Do you like to know the person behind the topic that you are interested in? Do you like to know who you might be working with? Well, I have a treat for you today. In this video, I'm introducing you to Peter Abrahamsen, psychologist, coach, and mentor. Peter is a master of emotional reset. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Sigrid. Good to
It's
meet you.
great to It's great to have you here, Peter, today because I'm really curious about a number of things, specifically how you have come to be such a master at emotional reset. But asking you that, I also want to know what is emotional reset. So let's start at that. What is emotional reset, Peter?
Okay. Emotional reset is part of my service, if you like, which I call emotional weightlifting. I call it emotional weightlifting because that's what my clients say it feels like when we work together. A weight comes off my shoulders. So I thought that's what I'm going to call it. But my clients come to me because something is not right. And then we press the reset button. We go back to where things come from. We deal with the root causes, not just the symptoms. And then it's almost like you press the Control Alt Delete on your keyboard and we start again. So you get clarity of why you feel and act the way you do. You get clarity where your behaviors come from. And that sounds all very grand, but it's pretty much down to earth. You feel the way you do, you have your emotions. We need to learn them. Are they my friend? Are they my enemy right now? What's the context? So we operate in context. We go back a little bit in time sometimes if it's relevant, or we don't. It all depends on what the client actually needs and what the issues are we're dealing with.
So it's really a very personalized approach that you have. It's not like sometimes, oh, this is my program, I do one, two, three. You have a look at the person first. So, what took you to coming down into this area of work, Peter? Where did it all start?
Some 40 something years ago, probably. You mentioned that I'm a psychologist and a coach. Yes, that's right. That's educational stuff. But it started back in Denmark, where I come from. Um, I graduated as a translator and interpreter from Copenhagen Business School back in 1990. So I took my master's degree in English and my bachelor's in German into the world in Denmark that didn't really want anyone to do with linguistics. If you weren't an MBA type of person or an engineer, there was nothing to do. So I decided to take myself abroad to live in the country where the language is spoken, and that was going to be England. I ended up in Dublin, in Ireland, as a translator and translated computer manuals. That wasn't
That's
perhaps what I had set out to do, but it was an experience, and I spent half a year in Ireland, and I totally enjoyed that detour. Then the company moved to an office, opened an office in the UK, and I was moved over in the first wave. So I got to the UK through the back door, so to speak. I got bored with the translation industry. I moved into project management. I moved into a different industry, a big American corporation, where I was a change agent. I was running as a project support office, and my job was to introduce change. But then I realized all of a sudden that the very people who had hired me to introduce change were so incredibly resistant to change. Now, I didn't understand that. So, a normal person would have bought a book on change management, which I was pretty oblivious to at the time. But no, I went and started a degree course in psychology. So, 10 years after I first graduated, I started studying for my degree in psychology. And a few years after that, I did my two diplomas in one in personal performance coaching and one in corporate and executive coaching. But I was still employed. Now I had just moved into supply chain consultancy, where I spent 18 years fixing other people's warehouses and factories. That sounds grand, but I worked with a team, of course, with engineers and business graduates and people who know numbers far better than I do. So they kind of took care of the data analysis as far as money and what lobby numbers, production numbers are concerned. I looked at the people stuff, the HR, the quality, the processes, how do things work here? And in that process, it dawned on me that I had always been more interested in the people I work with and the people I work for than what I was actually hired to do. Now, I do apologize to my employers for that, but that was just a realization that came. And when I got sufficiently fed up with the consultancy world, I started my own business.
Mm.
So alongside Better Lives was a side hustle, and then gradually it developed into my main job, which is what I'm doing now. So now my subject matter is people, not something else. Oh, by the way, there's people. So it is now people.
It is people. So it's interesting that you say that you were hired, but you feel you were doing something else. You obviously were doing the right thing because it did advance the businesses at the time, and you just saw that path for yourself to do exactly 100% what you are really curious and really interested in. I want to touch on this element here, psychology. I always find that psychology is closely related or part of marketing, which is my background. Do you find that in working with people that they often respond to things predictable, or is it more unpredictable when you're working on establishing what it is that is stop them where they are at the time? Is that something predictable or unpredictable?
You know, when coaches or psychologists ask a good question, they know that when the client goes quiet. I just went quiet. So
Yes.
that is exactly a question that is not easy to answer because people are not made of plastic from the same mold. So by that definition, there is unpredictability. But you can create predictability. You can behave yourself in a way that gives fairly predictable results. But there are so many moving parts out there. I don't know what kind of day you are having today, so I don't know how you will respond to what I would say that you will respond to differently tomorrow, or you would have had yesterday. But one thing I keep saying is that business is not about business. Business is
Mhm.
about relationships. And if you create good relationships, you get more predictability. But the most important relationship you have to sort out first is the one that you have with yourself.
Mm.
So the better relationship you have with yourself, the better able you are to engage with and to create productive and loving and caring relationships, whichever is the requirement.
That is so relevant and so important. I think, particularly in that constantly changing world we are in right now, this building relationships, we do that naturally without even thinking about it most of the time. But when we are consciously looking at that, we can really make a difference. Now, you're saying we need to have that, and I have heard this, a good relationship with ourselves. Peter, did you at any point in time when you went into this direction of your own business to go down wanting to work in this way to better the lives of others, did you ever find yourself questioning, why am I doing this? Or do I really want to do it in this way? Is that something that pops up for you personally?
Not in the way that you ask the question. I do what I do because of what I did before. That's the only reason why we can do what we do today. That's because of what we did before. So if we go back to, you know, there's a chapter in a book that I was a co-author with. That's the chapter I've written. And it says in there, I was born in 1991 and I learned to live in 1993. So I've been through my own long-term depression. I didn't know it was depression. Life was just a chore,
Mm.
boring. Nothing was easy. I had to fight hard for that. So I went through all my education from ground level all the way up to master's degree, moved to country, relationship breakup, changing jobs, waking up every day wanting to really say, well, why didn't I take my own life yesterday? So I got to the point where I sought help. Didn't work. So, all right, okay, let's do it. And I stepped back and didn't do it and found another psychologist who then simply just she was far better. She was the right match for me. And then I realized that there was something wrong, but I wasn't the person gone wrong. That experience made me think, oh, if I could do something like that, that would be great. And I stored that idea at the back of my mind. But subconsciously, I think I started working with people in my various capacities in a different way. And then it just came naturally to me in the end to say, look, this is really who I am. This is what I want to do because it matches who I am.
That is fascinating. And I started off by introducing you as the master of reset. I want to come to the emotional weightlifting or the emotional weightlifter. That is part of your business introduction, emotional weightlifting. Now, that is a really different type of wording, a different title that is not out there a lot. Do you find that you have to explain that at times, or do
Yes,
people, you do have to?
yes. And that's part of the whole point because it's a conversation starter. You know, I'm not the tallest person on the planet. I'm not the shortest one either. But when I'm at networking events and people ask me, well, now it's my turn, and I stand up and say, hi, I'm Peter Abrahamsen. I'm a weightlifter. People have a laugh because I do not have the physique of a weightlifter. And then I can explain what it is. And
Yeah.
then I, I, I can't say that I am a therapist. I can't say that I am a coach. I can't say that I am a mentor because I am all of those. And how do you explain that? So I had to come up with something. And my dear clients tell me when they work with me, a weight has lifted off my shoulders. Great, thank you very much for that, because that gave me the idea to call myself the emotional weightlifter.
I love that. That's a fantastic term, and it is really great that you're using that in the connection conversation that you can make when you are new somewhere or when you are networking. That is brilliant. From your time as you have gone through your business, Peter, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How does that sometimes feel for you? Is it exciting as you move forward, or do you find that sometimes it is just more pushing than flowing? Are there times like that for you?
Are you thinking about running a business, getting clients, or are you talking about delivering my sessions?
Working with clients, do you find they have changed over the time? You've been doing this for a while. Has it changed in any way? The clients.
It's difficult to say for sure because I can only work with those who come to me. So I can't say that globally there has been this shift or that shift. But I have noticed a couple of trends, which is how I also work with people. I look for patterns and trends and see is there
Mhm.
something, is there a theme going on here? I do come across more and more young people who regret that their parents didn't teach them anything, as in
Oh,
life skills.
oh,
When I work with a close to 40-year-old chap who's annoyed that he doesn't know how to iron a shirt, then I said,
oh,
well,
oh.
bring a couple of shirts. I'll take the iron board and my iron out and I'll teach you. And his response was, no, I want my mum to beep beep teach me something.
Wow. Okay.
I come across a lot more anxiety. There was a time I think when we were anxious. Now we have anxiety, as if the word is anxiety is just being applied to everything without nuances. like we could be worried, we could be apprehensive. We go straight to anxiety, and that well, isn't far from anxiety than panic attack, and that's very often overdoing things. So I find a lot of clients coming to me saying, this is the problem, and they have some sort of diagnosis that they have worked out themselves. I see a lot of wisdom experts, I'm being sarcastic here, from TikTok
Oh,
that I then
yes.
that I then have to be up against because well this guy on TikTok says, yeah, okay, well who is he? Well, I don't know, but we talk a lot. And I'm also now beginning to face clients showing me what their loved one put into Chat GPT to get an answer to why did he say or why did she say that, and then ChatGPT comes up with an answer completely left field because ChatGPT did not have the context, had
Mm.
not worked with my client for quite some time. And then those are the kind of things, those are the changes I'm seeing. We have moved from the more analog world to definitely a digital world where it's doom scrolling and can't sleep. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of worry around. It
Mm.
always was, but society has got faster, even in the 10, 15 years that I've been doing this. Don't know if that answers your question.
Look, that is really fascinating that you are sharing that. I think it is definitely broadly a global thing that the generations coming through are relying a lot more on the digital world for answers, and the practical approach is not there. And for whatever reason, the generation before them is not practically or actively teaching that, which surprises me. It's something that I've always been keen to do with my own next generation,
Hmm.
to bring that into the world. Do you feel there is a message that you, from your own inner workings and how you feel, is really important for you to take out into the world?
I think it is do not be afraid of the world. Um, and I'm putting it like this because I do get a lot of comments like, well, World War III is just around the corner, and then the perception is that everything just stops. And my argument is, well, all my grandparents lived through two world wars, and my parents lived through one world war.
Mm,
Um, I'm a product of all of that. So it's not like the world is going to be completely obliterated. It's
mm.
not like everything comes grinds to a halt. And there's so many moving parts that we can't control. So instead of being afraid of the world and the future, I do recommend that people look more towards the present and make the present a nice place to be as best they can. Control what you can control and do not worry yourself overly about the things that you can't even influence.
Such a valuable directive there for us to listen into. Is there something to finish off on this particular segment with you, Peter? Is there something that you feel you would have done differently had you known? Is there something you would have done differently in your own life and the work you do had you known you would have done it differently?
I think the one thing I would have benefited from doing differently was to have sought help earlier. I still come across the misconception that seeking help is a weakness.
Mm,
I use the analogy with the car. Your car has a problem. Would you take it to a mechanic? Oh yeah, 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 I would. Okay. So you're asking the mechanic for help? Yes, I am. Right, okay. So when people come to you for help, do you think they're weak? Oh, no. So what makes you feel that you're weak coming to me to ask for help? And that's when the client goes quiet very often. But I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was in my life. And I
mm.
made some horrendous decisions and that I can talk at great length about, but that's not for now. So I just wish I had picked up that this can't be right. but it started from when I was about 5, so I kind of didn't know anything else. And I had a lovely, kind, and caring childhood, no abuse, anything like that. But I got an idea wrong in my head, and was how it spiraled. So I wish I had asked for help earlier. And that's what I would like to say to people. If you suffer, if it doesn't feel right, go and find someone you can work with. It's not a weakness to ask for help, it is a strength.
That is an excellent directive. Thank you, Peter, for that. You really are guiding us to recognize something isn't quite right. Seek help when you feel that. Don't let it go. Don't think, oh, it will change, but go directly to find the right help. Thank you for speaking with me today, Peter Abrahamsen, psychologist, coach, and mentor. You really are a master of emotional reset. You've reset my thinking already with sharing a bit about your life and how you work with clients. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.